wants to talk about their article first? Who wants to go first? Don't everybody jump up at once. Yes,
I will, I guess.
Mr. Thalen, you want to go first?
Okay, I'm back. Well, I did mine on the article was called "Watch Out for Online Locksmiths." It's pretty much talking about these locksmiths that are online, and they buy up like Google ad space, and so whenever you like lock yourself out of your car or your house, they'll be the first ads that pop up on the screen whenever you're searching for locksmiths. And what they're actually just call centers, and they can be based out of anywhere around the world. But they'll just subcontract to subcontractors in the local area, and so they'll price you at about like, usually it's anywhere from $20 to $40 to be able to get you out of your car. But then when the subcontractor comes, he's actually going to charge you about 2 or 3 times the price for that. So I did mine on, I think Google should focus more of their time and money on making sure that these businesses are legit, because it's taking away from the business of actual people that have businesses in the local areas. And one of the reviews had said that they called this locksmith place, and they found the location, and it had it on Google Maps, had a picture of it. It was in a strip mall at the end in this pinkish building, and they took a GPS to the location, and they ended up just at this brick wall. There's nothing there, and so yeah, they Photoshop onto the Google Maps just these fake places. So it's really just kind of false advertisement, kind of just.
So how does their pricing structure, they quote you a price?
Yeah, they quote you a price over the phone, but I mean, they really don't know how much the subcontractor is going to charge you. And when the subcontractor gets there, most of the time, most of the people don't know how much it would really cost them. And so they'll tell you, oh, we need to drill into the lock into your door or whatever, and it's going to cost about $350. And some people just want to get to wherever they're going, so they'll end up paying that $350 to have to do it. But I mean, it's really like, it doesn't really cost. I mean, it really shouldn't cost that much to be able to do it. But people pay that amount just because they want to get home or whatever.
So it's usually car keys, and it's not necessarily your home or your
It could be homes too, if you're trying to get in. But all these subcontractors that are doing that are they're demanding cash for you to like get in there, so that way if they try and follow back, that you can't really.
So one of the things that has taken a lot of business away from locksmith is how many people have cars that they can open remotely now. That's a big deal, that you can get, OnStar or whatever can open your car remotely if you lock your keys out. Of course, what does that mean that the price of a car key is anymore?
I think $100.
That's a fairly cheap one. To replace mine, I think is $250. It comes with 2 with the vehicle, and if you lose them, it's fairly expensive to replace the keys now because they've got the computer chip in them. That you can get keys made. Like my aunt has one for her car that will basically open the door, but won't. You can't start the car with it because it doesn't have the chip in it, and so they become more expensive. The advantage is that how many people actually lock themselves out anymore and can't get their car open by calling their car company, Ford, GM, Cadillac, whatever, OnStar, and getting them to open it. The cars are also more secure now. It used to be that you could call the locksmith and they could use the Slim Jim and open your car lock fairly easily, and almost anybody could do it. and now you've got, more sophisticated systems. So you've got, I think an industry that is being changed by technology and the ability to do that. What could they do in terms of their pricing model to ensure, one of the things that it seems to me that's problematic with this model of business of being basically a referral is that anymore, if people, one of the things that we talk about is negative word of mouth, NWOM. And we used to say in traditional marketing that if people really liked you, they might tell 3 people. If they really disliked you, and they disliked your service, they would tell 10. How many will they tell now?
Everyone we know.
Everyone. They will tell so it seems to me that, consumers, particularly if they're looking online and getting this, because it is an online referral service, if they're looking online, they're fairly sophisticated in terms of their ability to find stuff and then turn around and engage in negative word of mouth. Is that an effective regulatory scheme, do you think? Is just the negative word of mouth? What kind of service is a locksmith? What do we call that type of service generally? From your principles, you should know this. It's in the same category a lot of times with things like funeral services. Those are unsought goods or services. Why? Because you don't think about it until you need it. So it seems to me that that's one of the things that you can run into is these kinds of problems with unsought goods. How do you really advertise? Well, it used to be you were in the phone book. Locksmiths were in the phone book, but now, does anybody actually look at their phone book? They still drop them off. I don't know why they even bother to print them, but they still do. And it's not one of those things that anybody actually looks at anymore. So, what could they do? What's another way that they could monitor the quality and ensure that the quote matches the charge with their subcontractors that are out, in Oklahoma City or Edmond or Guthrie or Perry or wherever it is?
You pay the service.
You pay the service, right? Isn't that what you do with Uber? So that you know what your charge is going to be, because you pay who? Uber, and then Uber reimburses anybody use Uber? Even after the guy went postal on some of his rides, they reimburse. So you could do it that way. Would that be a more effective method of regulating the cost? It seems to me that if you get a bad rap online and people start slamming you, that what happens to your business very quickly, your business model? Yeah. Do you trust things like Angie's List for their evaluation?
You have to pay to be on the list. And
Be a
don't
member.
both sides have to pay? The consumer?
The
and
consumer, you join Angie's List, I think they've dropped it used to be fairly expensive to join. I think they dropped the price to the consumer. What's one of the problems that you have though with that kind of reviews? Contractors, plumbers, that you can evaluate fairly well if they did a good job, can't you? What about doctors though? Reviewing doctors. Locksmith, it seems to me that you can evaluate that fairly well. Post. You have problems with credence properties in some positions. So which ethical theory did you use to criticize this business model? seems like you could use a utilitarian analysis and do the calculus on whether or not it's, you know, costs outweigh the benefits. Okay? Who else wants to?
I did mine over like online tracking. So the one I found was like, this is like news sites get paid by allowing advertisers to snoop on you.
Mm-hmm.
And it talks about like, it said something like, on any given time, there's like, when you visit a site, there's like 8 third-party companies tracking you, like finding your interests, and that way they can like target ads towards you, like on your Facebook, or anytime you pull up like any page, like you're gonna have an ad that if you look at shoes or whatever, that same pair of shoes is gonna like follow you around for a couple of days. And it also did like a study that the companies like with the most tracked sites were like Google with 92% and Facebook with like 56%. And many companies are putting like do not track on their websites, but advertisers are still going on there and tracking people's interests and stuff like that. But many people are, like Apple had allows users to download the ad pop-up, block pop-up thing. And many like advertisers think that's like robbing them, because this is how a lot of people make their money, by how many people like click on their site. So it's just kind of going back and forth, like which side do you kind of go with. Like as a consumer, you think it's unethical to have your privacy like invaded, but as a marketer, like this is how you're making money, by people clicking on your ad, going to your site and stuff like that. So just as a marketing major, I can see both sides. Like I don't think, like I would rather have ads geared to me by something I like than just a bunch of junk ads that I could care nothing about. But when you get into like selling people's information, that's what I think is more unethical than just tracking people's interests and targeting ads towards them.
So, which company is it what was the name of the company specifically?
This one wasn't really like a company. It was talking about, I guess, a bunch of news sites, like news article sites are like one of like the biggest like sites that get targeted ads to, but it kind of can go into any different, but it didn't really talk about a certain site or company.
So this is, let me see if I can find, here we go, I have it on here, yay. This was a PowerPoint presentation that this company did. I think I told you all that my family and I own 4 bed and breakfasts in Guthrie, Oklahoma. We were the first bed and breakfast in the state of Oklahoma. We started in 1986. This is our 30th year in business. This October will be our 30th anniversary in business. And we do the murder mysteries, and so one of the companies that targeted us, based on our website, we have 2. One is the StonelineIn.com, and then we have a StonelineInPhotoAlbum.com that we post all of our guest pictures to from the murder mystery. It's a value-added thing that we do. So Brandified contacted us, and when they did the presentation, they lock your ability to download their presentation, but I used something called Screencast-O-Matic. Have any of you ever used this? It's a screen capture website that you can, it's free, you can use it for free, and then you can upload stuff to YouTube. And I originally got it so that I could make, for my online class, my summer online classes, I could make very short videos to post for students on various chapters, and use the PowerPoint feature, and it also pulls up your picture. But I screen captured this using Screencast-O-Matic. There's an ethical issue for you. And this is about Facebook. So let's see, I'll turn the camera around so you can see the screen here. Did I show you all this already? No. So, Facebook their slogan at the beginning of when you log on is, it's free and always will be. Is Mark Zuckerberg just a swell philanthropist? No, not exactly. So why is Facebook worth so much? Why is it not playing?
It charges advertisers to advertise on this.
Facebook is actually the largest big data mining company in the world. They track everything on Facebook. Now, a lot of the information we give them voluntarily. You put it on your profile. You list all of these things, your interest. And so one of the things when I got a divorce, I put single on Facebook, and all of a sudden all of the ads that I got started popping up with Jewish singles dating sites. Because I had listed what? My religion is being Jewish on Facebook. So I'd given that information to them voluntarily. And isn't that kind of nice that they are able to get this stuff? But they have other stuff. So a lot of these things we give them voluntarily, but a lot of things they collect from other parties, third-party vendors as well. If you use rewards cards, those kinds of things are tracked. Why is it that you get the coupons that you get? How many of you have a Homeland rewards card or a CVS? And when you swipe those, they give you all kinds of coupons and things like that that are specifically targeted to you. That information is shared with Facebook. They search public databases, which are becoming increasingly more and more live in terms of the information that's on them. When you go down and you file a deed in the county clerk's office now in Oklahoma County, they scan it in and it goes live almost instantly with regard to your property. Is that going to contain a lot of really valuable information? Yeah, well, because it tells what? What do they get from that when you scan the deed? You get geographic data. What can you tell about geographic data? So for example, Edmond is in Oklahoma County, or the biggest part of Edmond is in Oklahoma County. I think some of Edmond's city limits actually slop over into Logan County now. What is Edmond? What do they know, just without anything else about you, if you file a deed from Edmond? What is Edmond? It's the highest per capita income community in the state of Oklahoma. So you already know that. Then you get the assessor's information. What is the assessor? Combine that with the assessor's information, which gives you what? Property valuations. And you can get a fairly good idea of what? What somebody's worth. What their socioeconomic status is. And isn't that nice for marketers? So Brandified does this. They collect all of this. They're one of Facebook's providers or suppliers to create targeted content to your clients or potential clients. Now, there's something useful about this, isn't there? So they have analysts that crunch this big data. They give you a team when you sign on with Brandified, and they help market your product, give targeted ads. That makes it convenient for you because it's going to be helping find things that you want rather than just mass marketing appeals. Doesn't that make things interesting? I mean, one of the things that we like is what? Don't you like getting the coupons? Things like that? I think, did I tell you about Target? Target had figured out, they had an algorithm that had done an analysis of, and they send out stuff to your home, coupons to your house.
Yeah.
And they had figured out what items pregnant women buy. They'd done this, and they sent out all of these things for babies, supplies, and maternity supplies to this young lady who was still living in her parents' house, and her dad got very upset and went down and demanded to know why they were sending his daughter this stuff. Turns out she was pregnant and hadn't told them. Would that be ethically problematic? I think it could. So now Target sends out, in the way that they decided to handle it is they include in those targeted ads a randomization of things that they also send in terms of the coupons that you get. So along with, the maternity wear, baby items, you'll also get, coupons or advertising for holiday greeting cards or dog food, Coca-Cola, things like that. This, really provides us with a lot of opportunities in terms of efficiency, and I think you can make a nice utilitarian argument that because we're able to do this, we're not wasting resources on just sort of mass appeals, but you are actually customizing your targeting your marketing campaign to those people that are going to be most receptive to your product differentiation. And isn't that efficient for both the consumer and the business? Now, what do they do? I'll turn this back around since it's your article. What do they do in terms of on Amazon? How many of you have Amazon Prime? Anybody? 2 of you. What do they do on Amazon Prime?
As soon as you get on to Amazon, like the homepage is like the last thing you looked at, and then about 20 other things that are similar.
That are similar. And isn't that good for you?
Yeah.
Isn't that, now you're not just watching stuff that you don't necessarily want to watch, you're actually able to see stuff that, and I found out about series that I never even heard about when they were on, and you can binge watch them, it's great. When you're bored, and the weather's nasty, you can binge watch on the latest one that I just finished watching this weekend was Newsroom.
So
And it's an incredibly good show, but I never even heard about that until Amazon suggested it for me. And if you're a Prime member, it's free, it's included in your Prime membership. And isn't that much more efficient than the way it used to be? Why is it, one of the things that's interesting about Amazon, it used to be that you could get Amazon Prime to play on all of these other devices. They're now trying to make it more proprietary. And so I was using it on my DVR player, and all of a sudden they said this will no longer, in 30 days it'll no longer be compatible with Amazon Prime, you'll have to get it. Guess where you can't buy the Amazon Prime stick now? You could buy those devices. Where do a lot of people buy those devices currently?
Best Buy.
Walmart. Walmart is the largest distributor, retailer of electronics, soap, shampoo, diamonds. Amazon won't sell to Walmart. They won't sell the Amazon Prime to Walmart. Why do you think that is?
Too many substitutes or too much competition.
It's Walmart is Amazon's competition now. Amazon started out as just basically what?
buy stuff online.
bookstore. It was an online bookstore. And really, it was, as I recall, primarily a secondary market of books. So it was people selling their books online. And what has Amazon become?
Like
What
Walmart.
they've become, yeah, I mean, what does Amazon sell? Everything. They sell everything now. And so Walmart is a big competitor. Amazon doesn't want to play nicely with Walmart.
I wouldn't either after what Walmart did this past year. When they started price matching everything on Amazon, that took away a lot of their business.
Isn't that good for the consumer though, that we can price match? We can look
Well,
at?
There's a bunch of ethical things happening though, because pretty much on Amazon, anybody can become a vendor. And so within the first couple of months, the biggest thing they were realizing was people were creating accounts on Amazon and basically posting prices for things that were like a penny and would go into Walmart and buy them for that price. And Walmart had to honor it because they said they would price match them. So people were buying like 24 packs of Coke for a penny. It was pretty awesome.
It's pretty hard to feel sorry for
I
Walmart
know. It was awesome. No,
on that, isn't it?
yeah.
Amazon also has a program called the Vine program. And you can get all kinds of free stuff if you can get enough. You have to write reviews of products. And if you write enough reviews, they ask you to be part of basically almost like a professional reviewer thing. And one guy that was on NPR talking about the Vine program had gotten something like $300,000 worth of stuff to try for free. Now you can't sell it. You gotta use it for your own personal use and try it out and write reviews. But he'd gotten a treadmill for free, all kinds of workout equipment, bicycle, televisions, DVD players, a laptop to try, because one of the things that Amazon realized was that if you had some reviews of a product, even if the reviews weren't good, the product sold better than products that weren't reviewed at all. And so they encourage people to write reviews on there. But they're now become basically I think one of the largest, totally online retailers. Walmart is both a bricks and mortar or bricks and clicks retailer, but Amazon doesn't want to play with them. All right, let's do one more. Who wants to go? Okay.
I did mine over the Volkswagen emissions scandal. Basically what they did is they just had this defeat device technology. So when they had their new engine, it's TDI, their new system or whatever, during the emissions test, it would just, the defeat device would just basically have it to where their cars were producing a lot less pollutants and stuff. So, I mean, not only is that illegal in Europe where they were selling cars, and in the US because it was over 40% of the legal limit or something like that of pollutants. I mean, there's also obviously an ethical issue that it can hurt a lot of people, consumers, competitors, I mean, just society as a whole, the environment and everything. So yeah, that's just what I wrote about.
So they were, Volkswagen does this, and which car is it specifically that they basically rigged the computer to show lower emissions than it was actually emitting?
I'm not sure. It wasn't just one certain car.
It was primarily their diesel model.
Oh yeah.
So diesel cars, diesel is a really dirty fuel source compared to unleaded gasoline. And it's, I mean, it cracks off in the oil refining at a different part of the process, and it's not as wonderful. So what are the advantages to diesel, though?
More power.
Has, yeah, more torque. Historically, what were the disadvantages to diesel? Well, one, it was dirty. You had more power, but what else? My mother's first diesel car was a diesel Mercedes. You had to go out, and it had this thing that you actually plugged in. It had a cord that came out from under the hood, and you would actually have to go out in the winter and plug in the block heater. They've fixed that issue. How do they do it? So my big diesel truck, which is sitting in the parking lot out there, my 3500 Ram, what is it? How does it do? Do you have to plug it in anymore? No, you don't have to plug it in anymore. It's got a block heater that when you turn on the key, it automatically heats it up. And so you don't have to go out and warm up your diesel by plugging it into the wall before you can go start it. They've come out with ways of reducing the emission on vehicles here in the United States. For example, the big Dodge trucks, the big Ford trucks, the GM trucks, and the big tractor trailer rigs. What do they have to do? Anybody know?
You have to put in that additive.
Yep, there's an additive. So on I have 2 tanks that you have to fill. One is the gas tank for the diesel, and the other is called diesel exhaust fluid, which you have to get at a truck stop. And it's kind of annoying to do that. As far as I know, they didn't have that feature. They didn't require that on the Volkswagens. So you didn't have to add these 2 things. And here was this, it was supposed to be this incredibly clean, efficient, burning diesel car that was supposed to, become all the rage. How did they find out that they were basically
I mean, it was
fooling the
just
program?
too good to be true. They just sold it like they marketed the cars as like it had really great gas mileage. It had like less pollutants and stuff and all these things. And I'm not really sure how they exactly found out. I don't think it had that part in the article, but it was just basically too good to be
It was a
true.
consumer testing group. I think it was Consumer Reports. I want to say it was Consumer Reports that actually did, what do? They do independent tests on products. And they were impressed with it, and so they hooked it up to an external, so it's registering that it's got all of these wonderful low emissions, and they hook it up to an external device that measures emissions, and guess what? It's not, the readings that are coming out are not matching what it said it was going to do. Now, you kind of got to wonder, these are smart people that are the head of large auto manufacturers. Did they honestly think that they wouldn't get caught, that some consumer rights group wouldn't do an independent test?
I feel like maybe they just marketed it. They wanted as best as they could to get as much profit. I mean, obviously, like somebody's gonna find that out, but I think they just really cared about the profit they were gonna get at first.
What has happened in the aftermath of
Well,
being
they've
kind of-
had a ton of fines, I think over like something like in the billions maybe, or something like that, and then there's a ton of lawsuits and everything against them now. So, I mean, they're losing a lot more money probably than they made.
Uh-huh. Tons of lawsuits, big fine. Now, the thing about if you do a utilitarian analysis on the fines that corporations pay, for example, who actually ends up paying the fine? When we say we are going to criminally prosecute corporations, and we do, who ends up actually bearing the cost? The what? Consumers do. Because what does the corporation do? They pass on, they pass on the cost of doing business to consumers. And so ultimately, we bear the cost. Now, we can put actual employees who violate the law in jail. But we're very, we don't really want to do that for some reason. Ivan Boesky, if you figure out what he defrauded the American government in income tax, defrauded the American people and the government of the United States more than all of the bank robberies in history combined, and did far less time for that. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that he did less time? We don't put rich people in jail.
He had good lawyers.
Huh?
He had good lawyers.
He had good lawyers.
I mean, he could afford.
They just came out with a movie on, and this is, you all don't even remember this because you're far too young to remember it, but I was an undergraduate when the O.J. Simpson trial was going on. And the interesting thing about that was, if you can match the prosecution, and he did more than match the prosecution, dollar for dollar, your odds of being found not guilty increase exponentially if you can match the prosecution, and he could match the prosecution. So it's one of these interesting things. And should we put the executives, or should Germany? One of the things that's happened is, since World War II, the German Republic has really become, in many instances, very sensitive to ethical charges. And most of Western Europe is far more sensitive to business ethics violations than perhaps we are in the United States. Should they put those executives in jail for lying, foisting off, violating emissions regulations? I think maybe you should. But, we don't seem to do a whole lot of it. Martha went to jail. What did Martha go to jail for?
Lying to the federal agents.
Lying to a federal agent. They couldn't prove insider trading. They could prove that she lied to a federal agent. All right, you all have until midnight. If you haven't turned in your paper to Dropbox, do that. We will pick up with this on Thursday. A couple of people have gone, I think, to a career fair, so get your paper in for the article review and then the Dropbox for your first exam.